Hey, Facebook family. Welcome. It's time for another live video, and I wasn't actually intending to do this live today. I was actually writing a blog post. I was actually intended to write this topic that we're going to talk about through a blog post, but um, there was just so much, and it felt like I wanted to say it now, and I didn't want to sit and write it out with my fingers. I needed to say it with my voice. And so I'm here live to have this conversation with you all around why forgiveness is energy work. And this topic of forgiveness has been coming up a lot. Hey, Zoe. This topic of forgiveness has been coming up a lot in the last few weeks, mainly because, this month of August is the last month that I'll be offering private one-on-one sessions with people. As a matter of fact, we're entering the last week of me doing one-on-one, so it's kind of a bittersweet moment for me because I've loved working privately with clients over the years. I've loved having experiences with them and seeing the transformations and the healings and the miracles that have happened for them. But I've just been guided to another direction, to really start to focus in another direction with my work and also with my own energy. And I'm going to follow that guidance. um, but having said that, because I put the call out there, hey, if you've ever wanted to work with me, this is the last month to do so. So a lot of people have been reaching out to work with me. And so I've been working with a lot of clients on a lot of different things. So, there are people who have come to me that are in dire straits with their health. They're experiencing some dire health challenge. There are people who have come to me with things in their relationships or things in their money, or they're things that they want to manifest for themselves, or they just wanted a higher experience of their life, or they want to connect in with their guys or whatever. They've been this all over the scope. And almost with every one of the people that's been coming recently, one of the big things that's really been clear in their energy field is that they need to forgive. And I've been talking to many of them, and I'll say, hey, you need to work on forgiveness. You need to forgive. Like, you need to forgive this person. You need to forgive yourself. You need to forgive this circumstance or this experience, or whatever there was. Forgiveness has been coming up. And I've been seeing why I was wanted to talk about this topic is because of the responses that I was seeing. A lot of the responses were either they didn't believe that forgiveness, they needed to forgive, they didn't understand why they need to forgive, or they said they forgave, and it was coming from a space of like, yeah, I forgave that motherfucker, or I'm over it, I'm over it, I forgave it, I'm over it. And whenever I see responses like that, well, first I read energy. So I'm an energy worker. So I read energy. I can read it very clearly. I see it does not lie. And so I already know whether you say it out of your mouth or not, whether you've forgiven, because your energy will tell it very clearly. But even if I didn't do that, just by if the mention of the circumstance or the person makes you scrunch your face up, or it makes you, you get a scowl on your face, or you're just like, I'm over that, I'm over that, I'm over that. You're not over that. So you haven't forgiven. And what it made me understand was that many of us, especially in the West, but many of us don't really understand what forgiveness is. And we don't understand why it's so vitally important. And we don't understand how to do it. And that was another thing too. A lot of the people were saying, I tried to forgive, and I just couldn't forgive. And when I asked, I said, well, what did you do? What was the practice that you did to try and forgive? And, they listed it out, and I was like, oh yeah, that's not it. That's why you still have that charge in you. Um, so I wanted to talk about it. One, to actually lay out the process, to be clear about what the process of forgiveness actually takes, and also to lay out why it's important, like why it is so important. I know a lot of people will say, you're when I say you need to forgive, or forgiveness needs to happen in every, I am a person who fully teaches and practices myself and believes that you forgive everyone for everything. And when I say that, I get a lot of people who will say, oh, you're bypassing, or you are, you're airy fairy in the clouds. And from my understanding, I know that, oh, that person doesn't really understand what forgiveness is. They don't really, because if you really understood it, you would know why. And so I'm going to share with you today why. And I'm going to share with you the process so that if you have some situation in your life or some person or experience that you need to forgive, you will know how to do it finally. And you will know why most of us don't know how to do it, why we haven't been, one, we're not taught about it in our schools anywhere. And, for example, you see a lot of the times when someone who has been violated in some way. Maybe their loved one was killed or murdered by someone, or someone robbed their house or something like that. And then you see them in court like a week later and they're saying, oh, I completely forgive this person. And I already know energetically that's not true, right? And that it's not going to end well for that person because they haven't. And we're going to talk about, like, you'll be able to see why that is, and why it's important, why forgiveness is important, and why it doesn't have anything to do with just like these platitudes of being a kind person, or these platitudes of being a nice and spiritual or a nice and religious person they forgive. It has nothing to do with that. Forgiveness is energy work, and you're going to understand that's why I'm saying that, and you'll see how it's energy work, and you're going to get the tools you need today, at least the principles and the steps you need today, to actually begin to do the forgiveness work. Because here's the second thing of why I wanted to talk about this. So that's the first reason why I wanted to talk about this topic today. But the second reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because in my healing journey from terminal disease, when doctors gave me 7 days to live, and they told me that, even if I lived past 7 days, I would never live past a year. And here I am, 15 years later. Um, in that experience, in order for me to heal myself, I had to do a lot of forgiveness work, a lot of forgiveness work, a lot of forgiveness work. And I learned something that wasn't taught. Nobody taught me. This is something that I learned through having to do it a lot, a lot, a lot to save my life. See, there's something else that happens when you do um, the energy shifts, and you do the consciousness shifts, and you do the well-being work. I don't call it really healing work anymore. It's well-being work. When you do well-being work, and you do it from a point where you have to save your life. See, it's something where it's different when you're doing it just because, it's the thing to do, or you're doing it just because you want some more money or you want to manifest something. It's a level of depth that you have to go to, and that you open yourself to go to, when you need to do this to save your life. And that's where I was. So I went to a level with forgiveness that most people don't ever go to, where I forgave everything, and I really went into it. And I learned some things about it, and I'm going to share them with you in this video. So the reason why, what I learned though, one of the biggest things that I learned, if you've been following me for a while, you probably heard me talk about this before, because it's my truth and I share it a lot. I've experienced a lot of miracles in my life. There are miracles in my body. There were miracles in my finances. There were miracles in relationships. I mean, stuff that you would not believe. The average person wouldn't even believe was possible. I have experienced miracles throughout my life. And I can promise you there are two things that I have done that every time I do them, I don't care what's going on in my life. Every time I do one of these two things, I experience a miracle. Every time. The first one is surrender. Whenever I have truly surrendered, whenever I have truly let go, truly returned myself to peace, and truly trusted that all is well no matter what it looks like, I have experienced a miracle somehow in that situation. Every time, without fail. The other one is forgiveness. When I have truly forgiven, when I have truly forgiven a person or a situation or even myself of whatever it was, a miracle always shows up in my life after I've done it, without fail. So this is a technology to me. Forgiveness is a technology that creates miracles, literally. And this is why I am so adamant about it. And this is why I teach it. And this is why if you ever work with me in any capacity, you're going to hear me talk about it, and you're going to hear me make you try and do it. Because it is a spiritual technology. It is a soul technology. And it is a technology that leads to miracles. And so let's just jump right into it now. I've given you enough background. Let's jump into it, like what forgiveness actually is. And by the way, you guys, please, if you have questions over here, um, please put them in the comments. I see a lot of y'all over here. So, hey, Matisha, Monica, and all of you. So, Cheryl, hey, you all. If you have questions during this, please, because I wanted to do it live so I can interact with you. I didn't want to just write it, because if I wrote it out, I couldn't really interact with you during this. So, I'm gonna, teach it live. So, um, the let's talk about what forgiveness actually is, what it actually means. So when I say forgiveness is energy work, this is why it's energy work. Forgiveness actually means you are giving yourself back to love. You are giving yourself back to love energy, because you are not in love energy. You are not embodying it, and you are not in alignment with it when you have not forgiven. You are in resentment. You are you are in anger. You may be in rage. You may be in frustration, and you may also be in sadness. And those energies disconnect you from love energy. And what love energy is this literally the energy of your soul. So what you're doing is you're re-embodying your soul. And I'm going to say this in a different way that is just as important to understand and is just as real. When you don't forgive, when you hold resentment and you hold the shame and guilt, also that also comes with forgiveness as well, especially if you haven't forgiven yourself, there's shame and guilt there. But if it's another person, there's often rage and resentment. What you literally are doing as a soul being, because you are a soul being, we're talking soul level here. That's all I talk on. I talk on the soul level. So you are a soul being. So when you don't forgive and you hold those energies in your body, you hold those charges, because they're charges. So you have a charge of resentment, and it's in your energy field. You have a charge of shame. You have a charge of guilt in the energy field. What happens is, since the soul is made of love, those charges are charges that are in alignment with fear. And the energy of the soul and the energy of fear can't occupy the same space at the same time. So what ends up happening is, when you're not forgiving, you are discharging pieces of your soul from your body. I need to make this very clear so you understand this. When you haven't forgiven, you discharge pieces of your soul from your body. You disconnect them from it. And it leaves a hole in your energy. And your energy, when it has holes in it, cannot be healthy. And that's why non-forgiveness leads to illness. That's why when you have chronic non-forgiveness, you manifest a disease. So forgiveness is forgiving yourself back to love and reconnecting your soul back to your body. Literally. So, if you could see energy, you would see, holes in pieces. And like, if you could see an aura, if you can see somebody's aura, or you can feel it, like, I don't see the field. My gift is I can feel it, and I can feel it very clearly. And so how I feel it, there's holes in it when someone hasn't forgiven, and there's leaks. There are leaks. And so it leaks energy out, it leaks the soul out. And so they're not fully embodied. So that's one thing. So forgiveness, the whole purpose of it is to bring your soul back into your body and to give yourself back to the love frequency that you are, the love vibration that you are. Why do you want to do that? if you're not in love, the only thing that makes things healthy and the only thing that makes things function well is love vibration. It is the only thing that does that. When you are withholding love from yourself in any form, for any reason, your body can't be healthy, it can't work at its best, and your life won't work at its best either. You won't manifest your dreams. You'll find, no matter how hard you work, no matter how many degrees you get, if you have a lot of resentment in your life, it will just, because you're creating from that negative charge. That negative charge is in your energy field, and it's going out, it's going through you and out, and it has to manifest like its kind. And so you're wanting well-being, you're wanting great relationships, you're wanting a great job, you're wanting a lot of money, but you got all this in your energy field, and it's just sitting out there, and it's coming right back to you and giving you more to be angry and shameful and guilty about. Because that's how energy creates. We create from the energy we have within us, and we create more things in our reality to mirror that energy back to us. So this is why forgiveness is so important. Because forgiveness it's not about the other person. Let me say this right here. Forgiveness is not about the other person at all. It is about you. Forgiveness is an act of self-care. Because if you don't have your soul's energy in your body, and you're not at peace, and you're not in alignment with love, you can't be healthy, and you can't create a good life. It has nothing to do with them. It's all about you. No matter what they did, I want a good life, and I want to be healthy. This is a selfish thing for me. I want to be healthy. I want a good life. I'm going to forgive because of that. It has nothing to get. It has nothing to do. And by the way, you guys, I'm going to give you the process. So I see you have some questions over there, like how do I get over the old stories we keep telling ourselves and all that. I see your questions. Just hold up, because they're going to get answered in the process, I bet. So, someone says like unforgiveness equals fear. Yes. So when we're not forgiving, there's some messages that go on, and you'll see this when we get into the process. But there's some messages that go on around like, this thing that happened to me diminished me somehow. It made me less than. This thing that happened to me, and I'm not saying the thing that happened didn't suck, or that it wasn't horrific, or that it wasn't horrible. But this thing that happened to me, the messages that we have, and this is why I'm saying is fear. Fear says it has many messages to it. Shame is a facet of fear. So shame says there's something wrong with me, and because there's something wrong with me, this part of me is not lovable, right? Fear will say I'm not safe, or I'm not enough, or I don't have enough, or there's a limit on me some type of way. And when we don't have, when we're not forgiving, these are some of the messages that are going up in our heads, right? Because this person did this to me, my life is less, and I'm less capable, I'm less beautiful, I'm less attractive, I'm less able to do this, something was taken from me that diminished my life. And as a soul being, what you know is that you are the soul creator, and nobody can ever take that away from you. You can, and we'll get into this because you're about to have some deep aha moments when we get into this process. But that's really one of the things that happens is we get these beliefs that disconnect us from the truth of our soul, from the truth of who we are as source in a physical body. We start to believe that we're limited, that we're less than, that we're not enough, and that we're not safe. And those things are, again, those beliefs are not the truth of our soul, and they disconnect us from the truth. So this is very much about fear. So anyway, let's go back. This is what forgiveness really is. It is the process of forgiving yourself. You are giving yourself back to love energy and back to your soul. Back to the energy of your soul. You're bringing the energy of your soul back into your body. And because without the energy of your soul in your body, you are not going to be okay. Your health is not going to be okay, and the functioning of your life is not going to be okay. You're going to tell yourself, like my clients, well, I got over that. I got over that. But here you are. Here you are working with me, and the shit has hit the fan. If everything was okay and you got over that, why are you here? If everything was okay and you got over that, why can't you attract fulfilling relationships for yourself? Why aren't you doing work you really love? Why have you taken all this medication and done all these diet changes and this health challenge is still here? Right? So if you've really gotten over it, if you've really forgiven, why is this stuff here? Right? And this is and we're going to talk about, again, I see all of you all in the question marks. I promise you all of your questions are going to be answered because I got a whole thing of things we're about to get into. We're going to touch on all of those, so stick with me, please. I promise you. We haven't even really started on the process yet. This is just what forgiveness is about. So this is what forgiveness is. I call it forgiving myself back to love. It is the process where I give myself back to love so that I can be okay and I can be well and I can start to create miracles and delicious stuff for myself, because I do not when I'm not. So that's why. That's what it's about. So it is a technology. It is an energy technology that we use as souls to reshift our internal state back to love, to alchemize. It is an alchemy. You are alchemizing your energy back to love. That is what forgiveness is all about. It has nothing to do with that person that this happened to. Um, it has nothing to do with what happened and what they said and who they were. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about me. It's about my energy is not in alignment, and I'm getting my energy back in alignment. I'm not fully in joy. I'm not fully at peace. I'm bringing my energy back into joy and peace so that I can manifest more peace and more joy in my life. Because if I don't have joy and peace in me, I can't manifest it out here. As a soul being, you manifest from what's in here first and what's in here. And if what's in here is bombs going off all the time, it's bomb. Listen. I know. Please trust me. I've had a lot of stuff happen to me, and I had to go through a lot. So I understand what goes up in the mind when you have something that you haven't forgiven. It's bombs going off. Especially when you think about that person, it's a minefield that person has to walk through in your brain, right? And but that's not peace. And when you have a consciousness filled with rage, you're going to manifest rage, because your consciousness is what manifests your reality. Same thing with your vibration. Your consciousness and your vibration manifest your reality. They are the only two building blocks that manifest your reality. So if your consciousness is filled with rage and your energy is filled with resentment and shame, guess what you're going to manifest? Guess what you're going to attract? All the relationships that are coming to you get filled with shame and rage some type of way. They weren't even connected to that situation, you thought. And now here this person that has nothing to do with that situation. Here this person comes and it ends up causing you more rage and more shame. And you think it's because of that person. It's because of you. It's because of the energy you have in you. You can't attract to you anything that's not a match to your energy that you're holding in here. So that's why forgiveness is so important. So that's why I say forgive everyone for everything. Get your energy back in alignment. Get your energy back in alignment. And watch the miracle happen when you do that. All right, so let's get into this process, y'all, because I want to help y'all out there, because I promise you, the more of us that really learn how to forgive and we do it, we will shift the planet. Because that is a massive energy shift when you forgive somebody. When you alchemize your energy and you bring it back to love, it's massive. So let's go into it. Let's just dive right into it. I see Yes, somebody's saying unreleased energy. It's a lot of energy that's pent up in your system, and it's energy that's not even positive energy. What I mean, it's not a high vibrational energy. It's a lower vibrational energy, and that lower vibrational energy is not good for your body. It's not good. It metastasizes, and it metastasizes into cancers. It metastasizes it into other debilitating autoimmune issues. It metastasizes. I've seen it, you guys. I've seen. I've worked with people all over the world, and I've seen it. The core root of so much illness is not holding on to all this stuff. So let's go into the process. All right. So the first step of the process of forgiveness is you have to vent. And this is why a lot of people don't forgive, especially in the West, because we are not, there's so many messages, even in the spiritual field, there's so many messages that venting and expressing negative emotion and pain and painful feelings is like this thing you need to get away from, and it's not this spiritual thing to do. And even else, even if you're not into the spiritual field, it's this thing of like, it's in the West, it's this thing that's not the nice thing to do, that's not the kind thing to do, that's not the sweet thing to do, but baby, it's the healthy thing to do. That's why so many people in the West are unhealthy, because we are so taught to suppress, and there is no health in suppression. So the first thing you have to do is you have to vent, and there's another reason energetically I want to talk to you why you need to vent. So what I mean by vent is you have to express, you have to be honest, 100% honest, and you have to be absolutely vocal about what hurt you and what wasn't okay. You got to get all the emotions around it out of your body. I don't care if you say it. I don't care if you write it. I don't care if you scream it. I don't care if you go and break plates. This is one of the things that when I work with private clients, especially when we have pent up and suppressed anger and there's forgiveness work we need to do. One of the things I used to do a lot is I used to rent out. I would go. There was a place there was like a little warehouse that would let me rent it out, and I would rent this warehouse out for the client session, and I would buy these dollar plates from the dollar store, and I would have the client talk about the situation as angrily as they could and break plates while they were doing that so that they can get this energy out of the body. Venting moves the energy. It moves it. See, this is the thing about understanding you as a soul being that we're not taught in our schools, which you're going to be taught in Self Love Academy, by the way. Because I'm telling you, I'm working on it. I'm about to release it so that you all can start registering. It's coming. If you're not on my newsletter, please join my newsletter because I'll be talking a lot about it in the upcoming weeks. But we're not taught about it in our schools about energy and our energy body. But we're going to talk a lot about it in Self Love Academy. But venting moves the energy. And so a lot of times when we haven't forgiven somebody, a lot of times we've never actually said and never actually expressed out and never really got it out why why this hurt us. And it keeps that energy in the body. It keeps it stuck in the body. And again, stuck energy does not it's not benign. It metastasizes. It keeps the energy of your soul from flowing through, and it fucks your body up. So the first step of forgiveness is to vent. You've got to say, this hurt me. When this person did this, this hurt me, and this is why it hurt. This was not okay with me. Right? And or whatever the situation was, right? Even if you're forgiving yourself, the same thing. Here's the situation that happened. This is why this wasn't okay. This is why this hurt. This is why this sucked. Right? And it moves it out. It dislodges it from your energy field so that it's not stuck. If you were following my page a few days ago, I posted um this diagram where I showed you the energy body and like different things that get stuck in the energy field, like cords and sludges and rips and things like that. So when you are like another thing that happens in the energy body is non-forgiveness is like a sludge. It slows the energy down and it stops it. And so very almost like um I just forgot. I was going to say cancer cell, but that's not what I wanted to say. But very similar to some of the physical things we see happen in the body when somebody gets a disease. So this is what has to happen. If you never do this aspect, if you never actually just speak it out inside, out of your voice, this is another thing of keeping your throat chakra clear and healthy. You got to speak it out, get it out, and say it how you need to say it. Don't try to be cute. Don't try to be pious and holy. Like, say it how you need to say it. This fucking sucked. You really, 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 this was really a shitty thing you did to me. This made me feel, and be very honest about so what it was and how it made you feel. So this made me feel disempowered. This made me feel sad. This made me feel ugly. This made me feel it made me feel broken. Whatever it was that you felt, say it. Get it out. Now, you may need to do it. If you live alone, do it in your house. If you don't, go in your backyard. Go to a park somewhere where you can be by yourself. You can be in a safe space to get this out. But you need to get this out. That's the first thing, is you got to vent it, because the venting of it begins to soothe your energy field. It begins to release the charge of it from your energy field, because it's in there and it's charged and it's building. If you don't ever vent it. But if you vent it, it expresses. See, emotions are supposed to move through the body and out. And when they move through the body and out, yes, even anger, when they move through the body and out, they don't metastasize, they don't build. And rage and violence, and this is what we're taught in the West, that they've assimilated anger with rage and violence. And the thing about it is, you don't get to rage and violence if you have a healthy way to express anger. Because when you have a healthy way to express anger, the anger comes through you and it comes out and it releases from you. And then your emotional body and your emotional state raises to another level. If you've ever really just vented something, you would know. Like, if you've ever just really this is something I do with my friends. This is one of the things I do with my close friends. I'll call them and I'll be like, hey, I just need to vent something for about 30 seconds. Can you listen? You don't need to give me an advice. I don't need advice. I just need to vent it. And they'll be like, okay, you got 30 seconds. And my friends will literally start a timer, right? Because we all understand energy. They're like, you just got 30 seconds, go. And I'll be like, here it is. Here's what happened. Here's what's not okay. And I'll just go, 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 go. And then when it's out, there is this release of energy from me. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I feel light. I'm not even pissed about the situation anymore. I'm over it. I've gotten the message that it came to give me, which we'll talk about here in another part of the process. But I get the message, the sacred message that experience came to give me, and I begin to integrate that. And I'm back in my higher vibration because I have expressed it. I have allowed myself to express it. This is another thing about the soul. One of the things about the soul is you are to be an expressed being. The soul is about expression. It's not about suppression. We've been taught so much suppression in our cultures. So much suppression. And this is why we're not all healthy. And this is why we're not all happy. Because you get that energy out, and it's out, and then you start to go back into joy. But that's the first thing that has to happen. That's the first step in this process, is you have to vent so you can clear that charge out of your energy field so it can finally stop being stuck and it can get out. Now, you may not be able to speak to the person if you don't have access to the person directly that you need to vent to. You can write a letter. That's one of the things I do. I write letters, and and when I start to write it, I say, I don't edit it. I just say exactly what I need to say. I say exactly what needs to come out. I say exactly what comes out in that moment. And I say everything I need to say around, here's how this made me feel. Here's why this isn't okay. Here's how this hurt me. And the other thing about this, so this is the second part of the process that we're stepping into now, is because I just got a beautiful segue right there. So you have to be clear with yourself about why it's not okay. Why was this not okay? Right? And so it's like you need to express why it's not okay, right? You need to have this expressed. You need to say it to yourself. You need to write it down for yourself. Why, whatever the experience was, why it wasn't okay for you, because that recenters you in your power, because it allows you to be heard. I need to say this again. Another thing about why forgiveness is energy work is because a lot of when we're not forgiving, we're disempowered. That's why we have the charge that we feel. That's why we feel the resentment in the first place, because that situation disempowered us some type of way. And how you begin to alchemize that and bring it back into alignment with love and power is part of love energy, by the way. It's a facet of the vibration of love energy. So empowered is a facet. So a part of being empowered is allowing yourself to be heard. When you're not being heard, you are going to feel disempowered. When you feel like you're not heard, you are going to feel disempowered and you're going to start to feel resentful. So when you are able to speak out and you're able to say, and you're clear about what's not okay, and you speak it out, this allows you to feel heard. And this centers you back in your power. And that's one way in which you're starting to give yourself back to love. You have alchemized your energy back from being disempowered back into power. So that's number 3. The fourth part of the process, after you've done that, after you vented, you said what's not okay, you said why it hurt, how it hurt you, all of that. You got that out, and then you've been clear about why it wasn't okay for you. So, for example, why it might not have been okay for you is like, maybe a friend of yours betrayed you. Well, trust is very important to me, and you betrayed my trust, and that's not okay for me, because if I don't can't trust you, then I never feel safe around you. Right? That's all the things you need to say out in order to feel heard, right? Even if you can't say it to the person, just literally saying it out loud in the room by yourself allows you to feel like, oh, yes, this is it, and I hear it. Right? I hear it. So, you know, um, and I'll get to your questions here in a second. So, this is one of the things that you really need to do, because, again, you need to feel heard. When your being feels heard, it will begin to feel empowered and it will begin to release. But if you don't feel heard, you're not going to have a release of the charge. And so you got to have that. This is part of the forgiveness process. So the other thing is to be, once you got honest about, like, and you got clear with yourself about why it's not okay with you, like, again, let's use this one example of being betrayed by somebody. Like, I I value I value honesty and connection, and I value trust. And this wasn't okay because this went against my values. It made me feel like I can't trust you, right? And what you want to say is, so the next part is you have to be honest about what this, now after you vented and all those things, what's going to happen is you're going to get really clear about, especially the third step, when you get clear about why it's not okay, you start to get clear on, like, what's really important to you, what's your values, what your needs are. So the thing about that is, like, oh, okay, and a lot of you are asking, like, if the other person can't hear you, if you can't speak this to the other person, what do you do? You guys, I just said you can do this by yourself. You don't need them. You can write this down on pieces of paper. You can do this in your house. You can sit down and imagine that they're sitting in a chair across from you. You can sit 2 chairs down. I've done this. Chairs just like this. Sit them facing each other. I sit down and I imagine that the person is sitting in that chair, and I just speak out what I need to say to them. You're not always going to have access to the person afterwards, especially if you've let this go for a long time. You may not have access to them. You don't need access to them. You just need to do these steps. Just do the steps. Just do the steps. So again, a great place to do this, if you can't speak to the person, uh, audibly face to face or over the phone or through email. By the way, a lot of you all can speak to the email, so do them by email, right? Do this, send it to them, find out where their Facebook is, send it to them in Facebook inbox. But you don't even have to do this. It's not again, it's not about them. It's about getting this out of your energy field. And I can promise you, you haven't done this with yourself. I promise you, you haven't. So sit down and speak out loud these steps. Speak them out loud. Write them down. And here's the one I know you haven't done, right? This is the step, the next part of the process is be honest about what you're now aware that you want for yourself and that you need. I can't tell you how many times I have worked with people, clients, who haven't gotten this piece, because this is the piece that shifts you into real forgiveness. When you start to understand that, oh my God, this situation actually came up for me and it served me. It's even though it sucked, even though it was painful, even though it may have even been horrific, it also served me because it helped me understand some things about myself that I wasn't even clear about before. Right? So now that's the thing. You get honest about what you know now that you want for yourself and that you need. So now I know after this betrayal that trust and honesty and loyalty are very important to me. I need to communicate those things. I need to place them higher in my values. I need to be very clear now that I need to make choices about the people that I engage with and that the type of people that I have around me based upon this new knowledge. This served me. This led me in a direction where I'm going to be now understand what's really important to me and I'm going to meet it instead of not getting it met. So, for example, there may be a boundary, and this is almost always what anger comes up for. It comes up as the soul's way to get our attention to something. There's a boundary that needs to be set here. And I'm not talking about the type of electric fence boundary. I'm talking about the boundaries of how I need to be treated sacredly. Maybe the boundary, is people don't get to talk to me like that anymore. I remember, I'll never forget, I had a friend of mine, um, and he and his partner had been in a relationship for many, like 25 plus years. And he was a minister. And I was asking him, like, what was the secret to you all have, and they had a beautiful relationship. I loved both of them. They were very loving towards each other. They were very open in their communications. They were very connected. And I asked them, I said, what's the secret here? This was many years ago. I said, what's the secret? And they said, one of the things happened where we had a situation, we had an argument one time, and we called each other. One of them called the other one out of their names, and they had a conversation. He was like, this is how this felt. They did these steps. This is how this felt for me when you called me that name. This is why that's not okay. I love you. You don't get to ever call me that. And I don't get to ever call you that. And we made a decision right then. That experience helped me understand that we had to set a boundary around, we will never call each other out of our names. We will never speak to each other in very nasty ways. If we have a problem with each other, one thing they did, and this is something I adopted because I was taking notes, because I was like, wait a minute, this is good. One of the things they said was like, they don't have arguments in the bedroom. If something comes up in the bedroom, they completely sanctified for lovemaking and sleep. And that's all that is allowed to go on there. Connection, lovemaking, and sleep. And so one of the things they said was like, if something comes up in the bed, and like they're like, there's something heated that comes up in the bed, they will say, Do you want to continue this conversation? And if you do, let's get up out of the bedroom and let's go into the living room. They do not do anything. That was a boundary, right? So and what they found was when they set that boundary, they became more connected to each other. Their sex got better, and also they communicated better because they would, if this was something that was really important, they would get up and they would go have the conversation in another room, and they never called each other out of their names anymore, and they began to feel more connected to each other. And so this is something again, a lot of these situations come up so that you can begin to understand what needs to be added in your life, where you need to focus your attention in your life, and also what you're allowing in your life that's really not okay. And this is one of those things where, you get that, what changes you need to make in your own life, what directions you need to head in, what boundary you need to communicate and set as a result, right? And a lot of times we don't know our boundaries until they get crossed. We don't know what's actually important to us until it gets dishonored. That's a part of this life process. You don't know what your boundaries are until they get crossed, and then they get crossed and you realize, oh wait, that's important to me. That didn't feel good. That wasn't an awesome experience for me. I need to operate in a way that honors this and protects this in a way. Or you find out what you don't want. You may find out what you don't want. I know a lot of times some things, there were some people I used to date, and when I really started to date them and I had some experiences, I realized, wait a minute, this type of person isn't for me. I don't need to be opening my doors for this type of person. I don't need to be seeking the connections with this type of person anymore. And it took those experiences for me to have that. And my life has been so much happier and so much healthier since I made that decision. Right. And so this is the thing that is really, really important around this. Um, uh, so I see somebody saying this is awesome when you have a willing participant. I need you all to understand it's not about them. They don't have to be in any of this. And you're going to see in another part of this process, we're going to talk about that. But you want to continue to make it about this other person. It's about you and your energy. Period. 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 It's about you and your energy. Stop making it about what they're going to do and if they're going to respond well and if they're going to be, it's not about them. You do. And again, if you can't talk to them, you get it out yourself. You write a letter. If you can't talk to them in person, give them a letter. Lose it. You have to transform this energy, y'all. And so that's one thing. So that's one step. Then the next step after you do that is after you get clear about this and you've expressed and you're honest about what now you understand you need for this experience, because this experience is going to offer you wisdom. It's going to offer you, okay, so here's how you need to move through the world. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to let go of. Here's what you may need to speak up more about and set a boundary around. As a matter of fact, I just had a conversation with a friend today. There were people coming in his business, where he just opened a business. He's a year in his business now and getting more and more successful in his business. And now it's gaining more people's attention and more traction on the street he's on. And there are a lot of people who walk in his business that don't want to be patrons and they're taking away from his time and taking away from the safety of his clients. And he's going to have to set boundaries around this now. Right. And he was so angry and so angry about it. And I was like, well, what has this helped you understand that you now need and you want? Well, I want more peace in my space. I don't want to be interrupted. I don't want, okay, so that's really important to you. And so maybe now you're cleared more now about what can you do to assure that you feel more at peace and more safe in your space here. There may be some conversations you need to have around like telling people they can't come into the space and But also there may be some other things you may need to do with, like, maybe having signs outside to say if you're not a patron of this business, you're not allowed to come into this business. All of that stuff, right? But that was a boundary he's now aware of. Like, oh, this is asking me to set some stronger boundaries, and to or not stronger boundaries, but just to be clear, to have some clear boundaries where I didn't have these boundaries before. Now I'm clear now, and then when I have these boundaries, I'll be okay. Right? So this is, again, the situation is coming to serve you. I need you to understand this piece, you guys. You are a soul, which means you are a piece. You are a part of Source. You are part of God. You are literally the incarnation of God in physical form, in this unique expression. Everything that's happening is your creation, and it can expand and serve you. Everything, everything, everything. I mean that. And I'm going to show you how I mean it here in just a second in this next one. But I mean that. So, how is this here to serve you? How is it here to help you expand into a higher level of well being? What did it show you that will allow you to do that? What will it show you? That's the very next piece of the process. When you get all of that, you sit down and you say, you get clear on how this experience served you or expanded you somehow. I did the very same thing. People are telling me all the time. They come to me and they say, "Well, Jerome, like, when they hear me and they say, when they hear me say, I am grateful for that AIDS and kidney failure came into my life, because they served and expanded me. They weren't they may not have been the blessings I preferred. They may not have been the gifts that were wrapped in the pretty paper. They were wrapped in sandpaper for sure. But baby, they were gifts nonetheless. Because I learned, when I did my own process of forgiveness around it, I learned why they were there, what they helped me see, I learned how I created them, how I manifested this experience to serve me. I saw it all. And I was like, oh, this is teaching me how to take better care of myself, because I wasn't taking good care of myself before. I didn't have boundaries. I wasn't following my dreams. I wasn't doing the things that nourished my energy. I didn't even know about my energy. I learned about all of that because of how AIDS and kidney failure showed up. I would not have learned it before that. I was on no track of learning that before that. Right? And this is the same thing. I have clients who are women who have been raped. And people will say, you can't say that you manifested that rape. And when they do this process, they get to a clear understanding. It's like, oh, I see it. I see how, from my energy I was holding before, I see how this experience was something that showed up for me. And I also see how this served me. How now, because I had this rape, I began to really look at empowering myself, and I am so much more empowered and so much more focused on my life. I used to always people please and put myself last and let people walk all over me, and I didn't have my voice, and now I don't do that. I have my voice. I'm strong. This thing was not a blessing that I wanted, and it didn't come in the package that I wanted, but it served me and it got me to another level of life, a higher level of life. But it's only possible if you do these steps. If that person never vented how that rape made her feel, if she never spoke up about what she needed from it, and she never sat down and looked at, okay, what changes need to happen in my life here? What is this asking of me to change? What is this asking of me to implement? What is this asking of me to become more of? And then she sat down and she did the work of, how did this expand me and serve me? As a soul being, you created this experience for yourself. Why? Why did you create it? What did it show you? Who did you become? This is the big one. Who did you become? You don't get this version of Jerome. Let me say this very clearly. You watching this video right now do not get this version of Jerome Braggs, the one who reads energy, the one who's sharing his life, the one who's helping you shift your energy and self-love your way to a more well and delicious life than you could have ever imagined. You don't get this version of me without having AIDS and kidney failure, without me having to gone through that healing journey. You don't get that. You don't get this version of me. He's here because of that. They expanded me. I became this Jerome because of that. Who have you become, or who are you being asked to become because of this? And I promise you, once you get all of this in time, you'll see it and you'll expand right into it. How did it help you become more of yourself? How did this situation, how did you start taking care of yourself better? How did you start speaking up for yourself more? How did you start letting go of things? What did you realize you no longer needed, or you no longer wanted, or didn't serve you anymore? How did you expand because of this? How did you expand? And then where did it show you where you weren't being yourself? How did it show you that not speaking up for yourself doesn't lead to a positive result? How did it lead to when you say yes to everything and not say no to what you need to say no to? How did that show you how that didn't work out for you? How did it show you? What did it show you about how you were operating in the world that doesn't work for you? How did it show you that? What did it show you about that? And once you get clear on all of that, once you start to get clear on, oh wow, yeah, this showed me that, I really didn't have boundaries. And, you know, I didn't have boundaries. And now I understand where I need to have boundaries. And I need to have boundaries so that I can move through the world being treated more sacredly. Or the type of people that I was engaging with aren't my type of people. And now I'm clear about that. And now I'm not going to engage with those people. And I can go about the business of finding my real tribe that really fully nourishes me and honors me. Right? How did it do all of that for you? And when you get clear on that, this is the next piece. And this is when the real alchemy comes in. And this is when the real energy work happens. When you get all of those pieces, you do all of those steps, then you start to understand the other person's role in your expansion. Then you start to understand, oh wow, they were sent to me for this. I thought this was a random situation. I thought that this was only negative. But now I see this wasn't random at all. This person was sent to me. I sent them to me to help me expand in this way. You release yourself then. You release yourself. This is the self-forgiveness piece. You release yourself and them from having to have done better back then. It may not be what you preferred. It may not have even been what was best for you. It definitely wasn't what was pleasing. But you understand now that it served you. And you understand, here's another piece that helps you forgive another person. We do the best we know how to do with the consciousness we have at the time and the tools we have at the time. We cannot do any better in any situation we find ourselves in than the consciousness we have and the tools we have available to us. So one, your self-forgiveness helps you understand, it helps you release that. You say, wow, from where I was back then, what I understood, what I believed, and the tools I had, it may not have been the best thing for that other person. It may not have been the best thing for me, but it was the best I knew how to do from that. And I take myself off the hook. And I also take that other person off the hook because this is the same thing for them. Even though it wasn't the best thing for me, even though it wasn't what I preferred, even though this situation was horrific or it fucking sucked, they did the best they knew how to do from whatever was going on, whatever pain they had, whatever misunderstandings they had, and whatever tools they had. And I did the best I knew how to do too. I'm going to get better tools and I'm going to get a better understanding so that I will do better and I won't repeat that situation. I can only hope that they will do the same. They may not, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But this is the understanding, right? And then you understand that again, you are God. You are source. And you created this situation, not from maybe this understanding, but from your God self understanding. You created this situation as a gift to help further your expansion. Not all gifts come wrapped in pretty paper. Some of them come wrapped in sandpaper. But they're gifts nonetheless. And it guide you. And if you will truly forgive, what will end up happening is this will guide you into a higher expression of yourself and an expansion of your being, and you will begin to see it as a gift. Disease, being like given days to live and having to go through dialysis and all that stuff that I had to go through, that helped me be able to help to heal thousands of people around the world. It introduced me to my mission here. I wouldn't have got there without that. It sucked balls at times, but it also was a deep blessing that I am so grateful for. The people that betrayed me in my life, blessings, because they helped me get clear on the type of people I actually really want to be around. I wasn't really clear about that. I just let any old person around me, even though we weren't really even in alignment with each other, even we weren't even in resonance with each other. And I'd have to suppress pieces of myself, and I was having to pretend. It helped me get clear on I want to have relationships where I get to be all of myself. And what does that look like? I wouldn't have gotten clear on that had I not been betrayed before. All of the things I've had to go through have helped me expand into a being that is truly healthy and is happy and does things that actually serve him now. You don't get this, Jerome, without that. You don't get it. So that's the last piece, right? The last piece is when you understand the role the person played in the expansion of your own life. You understand the role this experience played in the expansion of your own life. You start to see it. Even though you may not have the fullest expanded version of yourself yet, you start to see what it's trying to do. You start to see, oh, here's the path it's asking me to walk. And I can see how my life's going to be very different if I walk this path. And what ends up happening, this is where the alchemy comes in, and this is when you know you've forgiven. Then you begin to be grateful. Then you have gratitude for the experience. Then you're able to say thank you. You may not have been what I was preferring. You may not have been all pleasant, but you definitely expanded me. You definitely served me. Thank you. I understand your role in my life now. Thank you. And that gratitude recenters you back in peace. And that's when you know you've really forgiven, by the way, when you're back at peace. I like to tell my clients, when that person in that situation has safe passage through your mind, you're at peace. When there's no bombs going off anymore, when you think about that person, when you think about that situation, When you're completely at peace because you know you got the gift from it, you've released it, it's out of your energy field, you're at peace with it. You don't want it to repeat, but you're at peace with it. That's how and you're in a state of gratitude for the expansion you received because of it. That's when you're really forgiven. And then the last piece I want to say, which is so important, and if you've been sticking with me to the last piece, I'm sure a lot of you all were holding on. You had this question, and so I'm going to answer it right now. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. I want to say that again. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. If the other party involved or parties involved haven't learned yet how to stop offering the harmful behavior, haven't learned or haven't displayed that they're willing to honor your boundaries now, then the most loving thing that you can do is to release the access that they have to you until they learn it. They may never learn it. And so you may not have a relationship with them, but you can still have love for them because now you're back in love. So now that person is in your heart, but they don't have to belong in your life. You may have realized that this is not a type of person you want in your life anymore. These are not the type of people you wanted to engage with. These people don't actually nourish you anymore. This may be something that comes up. It may be this person really does nourish you, but they haven't learned how to, um, they haven't learned to stop giving harmful behavior. And until they learn to stop giving harmful behavior, they don't get access right now. It's not about it's not about reopening the relationship. It's about reopening the relationship you have with love energy. That's it. And you can have love energy for them and not have a relationship for them. There are a lot of people that I absolutely love, and I have so much fun things in my heart for them. But we don't have a relationship anymore. We don't speak anymore. But I don't have any ill thoughts about them. If I saw them coming down the street, I would say hello, and I would have love in my heart, literally. But I know that in their soul's journey right now, they are not at a place where they can have a relationship with me that honors my boundaries, that honors what I need, and that won't be harmful to me. And so, the most loving thing I can do is allow myself to not be harmed. So I don't have a relationship with them. There are a lot of people who are forgiven that our relationship got 100 times better after I forgave them, miraculously so. And they didn't even change any behavior. They didn't even change any behavior. The energy shifted, the consciousness shifted, and all of a sudden, when energy shifts and consciousness shifts, relationships shift too. And that one did. I've had several experiences. I'll have to share some stories around that later at some point because I've had several experiences with that. But you may find that the relationship shifts all on its own because your energy is different. And remember, as a soul being, when your energy is different, the situation has to be different. So a lot of times you find just by your energy shift, it shifts the situation in the relationship. Sometimes the person, their soul growth journey doesn't involve this experience with you. So the best thing for them and for you is to end the relationship. Again, forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't require that. It is if you want it. If after you've done these steps and you realize, oh, I really would love to reconcile this relationship, then you have a conversation about it. And you need to have a conversation about here's how we need to behave with each other now in this relationship at this new point. This is a whole new relationship. It's not the same one because I'm a new energy and I've got new clarity about what I need for my life and how I need to show up for my life. And here's how I need us to interact. So if you do reconcile, you need to have that conversation about, hey, here's what I need from this relationship now. Are you okay with doing this? And also, here's what they may need from you from this relationship now. Are you okay with doing that? And if both of you are okay, then do it. But it may not be so. And if not, it's okay to let it go. You are loved by life, and life will fill any void with love. If you have a loving relationship that leaves, it is going to be filled with a better one. So trust in that as well. But that's forgiveness, you guys. Those are the steps. That's what it's about. It's about energy work. It's about restoring your energy back to peace, back to love, back to joy. And those are the steps. And that's the process. It's not just this platitude thing that we put on the back of our bumper stickers in the West. It's not this thing that you can rush. Also, you see the process. So this is not something you do overnight. This is not something you do in 2 hours. It's something you take your time with, right? Some things you can forgive fast. Some things you can vent and get out in a few hours. Some things you can get out in a few days. Some things you need to take a few weeks. Some things may take a few months, to get clear on what the message is and what the changes are. And to make those changes, it may take you a while. So this is for you all. Guys, I hope this has helped you. I'm going to read through your comments really quick. If you have any questions, now's the time to pop into them. I'm going to take just a few questions before we go. I'm going to read through some of your things. Reopening the relationship with love energy, not with them. Yes, that is what this is about. You're reopening the relationship with love energy in yourself. And when you do that, if you get guided to open the relationship with them, you'll be doing it from a space of love. But if not, you're also doing that from a space of love. you just whichever it's going to be the guide, that you'll be guided from love. That's what you want to do. You don't want to end a relationship with somebody and you're not being guided from love to do so. But if you are being guided by love to end the relationship, it's the best thing you can do for you and for them. Yes, forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. Somebody says, I'd like to ask Source what this experience was meant to teach or show me in the forgiving process. So I like to take the word teach out of things because Source is not really trying to teach you because you are it. So it's not this thing that it looks at as you less than and that it needs to show you and shore you up. It doesn't view you like that. So it's not teaching you. It doesn't come at you to teach anything, but it does come at you to show you something, to remind you of something, to make you more clear about something, to make you more aware of something, something you need to shift or something you need to add in or something that you've forgotten about yourself. So the show me part, absolutely. What is this here to show me? What is this here to tell me? That's what I like to say. What is this here to remind me of? How is this here to help me? That's another one I like to ask too. How is this here to help me? How is this here to help me expand? Yes, forgiveness is not reconciliation. A lot of you all love that one. Somebody's saying one more time for the people in the back. I just gave it to you one more time, people in the back. Yes, forgiveness doesn't give you access. Forgiveness doesn't mean you get access again. And forgiveness means I now am in love energy and I now know how to better take care of my energy. And so now maybe my energy means now that I know how to take care of my energy, maybe that taking care of it, the next step is to not give you access to it. Maybe it is to give you access, but a different type of access. Maybe it's to give you full access again. And now I have a deeper understanding of how I create in the world and how I show up. And so now I'm not even bothered about you. Like it's just, I understand I'm more in my power and I know how to use my power. And so I'm not even worried about it. Right. But it's, again, when you're back in your love energy, it will tell you what to do. Love always guides and it always guides to higher. Let's see if you have any sources gifting us. Absolutely. All right, so I guess that's all I see, at least on my feed right now. So I don't see any questions coming in. So I love you guys. Thank you all for joining tonight and letting me vent this out because I was trying to write it out and it was not working. I needed to speak it out. Thank you for letting me do that and for writing with me. And I hope this has illuminated the process of forgiveness for you so that you can finally start to do it and do it well and experience the miracle that happens when you return yourself to love energy, when you come back home to love. Also, that you understand why it's important and why you need to forgive everyone for everything, why this is just not a light and love situation and it's just not an airy-fairy thing. It is a situation of health. It is a situation of well-being. It is a situation of manifestation. You deserve health and you deserve miracles. And forgiveness is one of the keys that unlocks both of those things. So go do it, y'all. I love you. Now go love yourself. Bye.